you up with
Welcome back, everybody. You know what we're doing. We are listening to Dour Candy by Billy Woods. Let's get right into it. All right, into track one, Prelude.
You're a man who understands history, right? If you want to start a revolution, why not issue a manifesto? Why not show the people who you are, what you're doing?
That's perfectly understandable. Socrates wrote nothing down, neither did Jesus. You see, the problem with text is that it assumes its own reality. It cannot answer, it cannot explain.
So if you want it to be effective, you leave no trace, right?
That's right.
Describe him.
But this was 10 years ago.
Would you happen to have a photo of him?
He would never allow himself to be photographed.
Damn. I just want to read this real quick. This prelude is taken from The Dancers Upstairs. But Billy Woods reimagines it as being about himself. He explains the need for his mystic, as text is too objective and art needs to be more open to interpretation. This sounds like Mac the Homie all over again. However, the final line refers to his notorious no picture policy, where he covers his face in any official photograph of him. Even his fans adhere to this rule. Hold on. Next is the undercard. Up next is the undercard.
Sixth floor, walk up, work off the gut. 2 steps at a time, apartment E9, what up? They cooking dinner, garlic, onion, ginger, duck in the back room, settle up. The new shit wild, got me ready to bust a nut. Pardon, eat like I'm starving, small talk, the clock ticks. I got a split, got a gig, nah, it's nothing big, don't get up. See myself out, breathe in the doubt, sip fear from chalice. Push the ton with no malice, turn the corner like Kennedy and my bag by the steps, hit the stage and crush the place like that's it. And never once did I take an eye off my shit. House of game, be legit, fixed rate mortgage 3%.
I like that instrumental. I really do like that instrumental. Alright. This annotation is unreviewed, but let's read this. City buildings rarely have elevators. They are known as walk-up buildings. Doing several flights of stairs helps you stay in shape. He's taller in a hurry and takes the climb 2 steps at a time. Got it. I don't know. The family is cooking up something that smells good. Oh, okay, yeah, weird. Billy is at his dealer's apartment. They take him in the back room to show him the new weed. Billy is excited because of the high quality. Okay. Pushed a ton with no malice. I feel like this is a callback to Clips. Yep. He sold a large amount of drugs without any ill will. A pun to the 2 former members of Clips, Pusha T and Malice, who changed his name to No Malice after a conversion to Christianity. This song uses a sample from the beat Freedom that I didn't know. On April 1975, the Khmer Rouge invaded Phnom Penh, a capital city of Cambodia. Pol Pot quickly became a dictator, and Khmer Rouge forcibly evacuated the population of Phnom Penh from the city to the countryside, where they were placed in agricultural communes. It's rehearsing his rhymes before the show. Not sure what he means by unraveling into thread. Re-Up is the name of Pusha T and No Malice's hip-hop group formed in 2004. It's safe to assume this is what he's referencing because he's mentioned Pusha T and No Malice in the earlier lines. Animal in a cage, he feels stuck. Okay, that's psychological. Decline the spliff. He doesn't want to get high with these guys. He's ready to do his thing and get out. Unfortunately, these boys probably wanted him to smoke to make sure he's who he says he is, to see if they can trust him. They take offense by his refusal not to smoke up with them. Okay. And who the hell is Professor Griff? I'm learning new things today. Professor Griff is one of the founding members of the Public Enemy, as well as an outspoken member of the Nation of Islam, as well as a black activist. Billy Woods has several Public Enemy references on this album. I will look out for those. That one I understood too. Okay, cool. Into the next track. The next track is Gilgamesh, which has a video, and you know how I feel about that. We will be watching it. And this is Gilgamesh by Billy Woods. This is an older video too. This album is older. There we go.
Got a call out the blue like I just flew into the city. What's up with you? Expectations were barely hard, so when she actually came through, pleasantly surprised like moms gave me the car keys. Stiff drinks, back to my place, garnished.
Golly gee, this is an old video. That looks like an older iPhone too. That looks like an iPod actually, but I could be wrong. I don't even know what phone that is. Yeah, I know it was definitely legal when this was made.
But I could tell she's playing, so I sang my same old tune. No shame in her game. Told me the wedding's in June. Gone at first light, connected flight. She made the plane. I'm left thinking like Osama in cartoon. Your whole neighborhood on stage, excessively mean mugging. Still managed to sound weak coming out the speakers. Far be it from me though, cousin, I ain't James Brown neither. Found in the wild, half docile gazelles with the finest features. Retired to the boudoir with the long legged sativa. Fell out, rode to Damascus status, I'm a believer. Had to disconnect the receiver on that solid gold telephone. Fulgencio Batista, El Jefe, Rafael Trujillo.
Run that back? Gang, what are you smoking? Hold on. That does not look like Retha. Oh, I'm sorry. That does not look like weed. That looks like you pulled your hair out and tried to smoke that shit. I could be wrong though.
Batista, El Jefe, Rafael Trujillo. Came through on her wedding night, room peeping through the keyhole. Tears in his eyes, lights off, mijo. All you heard is rap and battles. She left disheveled, merrily dug his own grave, whistling as he shoveled. Clear, these wars fucking closing in. Last year I pretended to care. Right now can't spare the oxygen. Feet up on the Ottoman Empire, a 2-block radius at best. But the peasants still call him sire. Hold his marijuana and shoot when he says fire. No rest for the wicked. Steady hand on the spigot. Velvet glove, iron fingers. Greek myth, fire.
Velvet glove, iron fingers. When we get to the lyrics, I want to look at that.
Bringer, hell in the choice, perfume linger, even vacuum seal, green apples, wild ginger, spinning wood, still hands got splinters, so much hash the weed can't finish, and she lying there wide open like Congo at Independence. That 70s era, Dino De Laurentiis, lush production, red rope, hope your name's on the list. Angels on the pen, blunts in the fist. Good luck is a couple seeds in the brick, but you fucked up and seeded the bitch. Stolen whips, sitting in Dulles Airport. Long-term parking, that's cash and escrow. Rap like I'm reading off the parchments. Old school, fleeces golden wool. For a few pieces of silver, they overlook the golden rule. Acapulco gold, and it all reeks of jet fuel.
He does his money like my mom does. Either one side has to be facing the same way. I don't know. I feel like that's something to point out for me. All right, let's get into these lyrics. All right. Gotta call out the blue, feeling to say what's up with you. Here we go. Where is it? Here we go. Came through on her wedding night, groom peeping through the keyhole. As Wood stated in a TLT interview, this is a reference to Chuhila forcing himself on women on their wedding nights. Okay. Chuhila gave himself a lot of medals to the point where he would rattle when he walked around. Or if you left them on, okay. Feed up on the Ottoman Empire. A play on two different common meanings. The Ottoman Empire. This is the breakdown. The Ottoman Turks held power over much of the modern day Middle East, as well as parts of North Africa, until the demise of the empire in the aftermath of the First World War. And Ottoman is a synonym for footstool, hence why Billy Wood says feed up on the Ottoman. Oh. And velvet glove, iron fingers, I need to understand this. A variation of the phrase iron fist in a velvet glove, meaning someone who seems gentle or accommodating but at first, but is actually forceful and determined. Okay. Dino De Laurentiis was an Italian film producer who, particularly in the 1970s, was known for producing extravagant-looking artistic films while maintaining a shrewd business sense. Okay. Good luck. Okay. Dual meaning for seed. Brick often refers to a brick of weed, literally compressed into a solid block. Sometimes seeds from the plant are in there. Meanwhile, seeded can mean the plant seeds in a literal sense, or otherwise added them to something, but is also a metaphor for getting someone pregnant. Got it. And then Acapulco Gold. Acapulco Gold is a strain of sativa dominant marijuana. And I assume it gets its name because of the gold on its leaves. Okay. On to the next track. Next track is Redacted by Billy. Produced by, a lot of this seems to be produced by Blockhead. And I actually like Blockhead. His production is beautiful.
Yo, triple bag citrus, leaking through the plastic. Blood orange classic, old fashioned. Bittersweet cherry pop, steady groove. I let the levy drop. Petty toy like spaghetti snot. Gonna slide, ready rock baton.
My bad, allergies.
Burning paper, noxious vapor, beg your pardon. Hemp, watermark step.
I'm gonna say this now only because I know people are probably gonna like be like, oh, you know, you seem a little distracted. I am like partially sick. I was hit with 3 vaccines this week, so if I'm a little out of it, that's why. Back to this though, because this is getting somewhere. I want to see where it's going.
Over legal tender fiddles, blacking out on principle, corrupt the clash digital. When simple was accessible, level we can bring it to. This memory is simple, you all in the name of love. I'm not crazy, I'm afraid. I'm awake, I'm laying 7 stories high, roll a complimentary shake. Staring out in space, sometimes I feel nothing. Most of the raw side. Ball fly, glass of rye bonsai. To all my friends, glasses high. Separate the English from the Dutch apartheid. Pixelate his face in surveillance tape archives. Heavy as the head, Rastafari. Dread out on dread, mark for death, cause I. Beard like I'm on Hajj. Go hard like Old Testament God. You burning bush, they living large. That fire kush bring dough like synagogue. Ooh, baby, I like it raw. Honey is true britches. Money steady faking, never move like a king pivot. Church shoes, eyes wet with Glenlivet. Suit ill-fitted, genuflect, shoot clear spirit. Nigga lift the split, lose tail, old lip. Name change to protect the guilty. You on the wrong side. Wrong side. Wrong side. Break and enter. All intended victims. Name change to protect the guilty. You on the wrong side. The wrong side. Wrong side.
Huh. There's only a couple things I want to break it down. I want to know what this is for. The chorus is most likely referring to the victims of police brutality, the clever disposition of the assumed connotations to the phrases make for a jarring story. A break and enter with all victims being intentional, but then protecting the guilty flips it on its head. The perpetrators are protected by the law, which is the wrong side of history. Okay. And then, not this one, where is it? There we go. Go hard like God in the Old Testament. The Old Testament often depicts God as wrathful towards sinners, such as the seven plagues of Egypt, but then I'm gonna assume this is also another biblical references to Moses and the burning bush. Yes, it is, but it's a dual entendre. It's a double entendre because it also plays into smoking weed. And then this is an old dirty bastard reference. Akeem Elijah Jawan is a basketball player that played center. Never move might refer to this position. And then Buddy Ryan, James David Buddy Ryan, was an American football coach in the National Football League. Buddy Ryan was an American football coach. A coach puts his players on their lines. Junjaweed are a militia group operating in Sudan known for riding horseback and suspected of committing genocide against rebel groups. The word translates to devils on horseback. During the course of history, moral frameworks have often been used to legitimate violence. In the Middle Ages, the Crusades were military campaigns instigated with the purpose of spreading Christianity and Christian morals. In the 20th century, millions of people were killed in order to implement communism. In more recent times, the moral framework of Islam is sometimes abused or used to legitimate violence against non-believers in the form of terrorism attacks. In response, Western countries have put their own population under surveillance, pixelate his face within the camera surveillance, under the pretense of securing the freedom of speech, Western morality. In addition, Western countries have invaded Iraq and Afghanistan, the lyrics mentioned Karzai, under the pretense of spreading some morality of democracy and freedom. In practice, all major attempts of spreading morality has resulted in excessive violence and many deaths, equaling more corpses at the end of the line. And then it repeats the same chorus we've been hearing for a while. All right. Damn, that was heavy for no reason. And I mean, that's every Billy Woods song in a nutshell. There is extremely high ties to African understanding and the African plight and struggle over time, but it also puts it in a way that I think it's kind of beautiful. You get an understanding for something, but you actually have to look into it. And the best way to put it is these songs are like not as morbid as you think they are sometimes until you start reading. Onto the next track. MANTECA, produced by Blockhead again. I think this whole album is produced by Blockhead, if I'm not mistaken. It looks like it is. I'm not seeing any that is not. The song title is named after Afro-Cuban jazz song co-written by Dizzy Gillespie in 1947. Of his most famous composition. Let's get into this.
Big ice in a highball, bush league brushbacks, pockets full of pine saw, lemon peel on the Sazerac. The roach is never dead, big lips, the blackest the black. Came through the spot zoning like it's a suicide attack. Couldn't phase him, handlers remotely watching the operation on doomsday. Sour flowers, my ex-girl caught the bouquet. Pool day, DA will bust through the wall on some Kool-Aid. Grown man strength, celibate but her panties leopard print. I can't call it, I'm a do Diallo wide on personality call world smash y'all. The kids got promise. A young Clarence Thomas. Whites was astonished. She spit that expertly polished. Trick knowledge. Book learned. Good college. Westernized trees. Africanized bees. Spark, Spartan green. Mateen cleave. Please cop. Police got the whole hood on their knees. Traffic stop. First thing they said was you sent them to me. Oldest crook in the book. A king in the rook. Classic like Stalin's organs. Black hand extortion. Brass band plays as the hounds take their portion. Ran him to ground. Knocked once and took the door in.
Okay. There's a couple of things that I realized. Like Operation Doomsday is a call to Operation Doomsday by MF Doom. But I want to know about this. They're gonna blow down part of the wall like the Kool-Aid man. Okay. I read that wrong. I can't call it Armand Diallo. Why I don't carry a wallet. Can't call for the police since getting involved with the law can end up badly. He doesn't carry a wallet due to the chance that officers may mistake it for a weapon and open fire like they did on Armand Diallo. Armand Diallo, February 4th, 1999. Diallo was standing near his building after returning from a meal. Police officers observing Diallo matched his description of a since captured approached him. The officers were in plain clothes. The officers claimed they loudly identified themselves and that Diallo ran towards his apartment, ignoring the orders to stop and show his hands. Diallo then reached into his jacket and withdrew his wallet. Seeing the suspect holding a small square object, Carl yelled gun. I'm gonna assume that's one of the officers' names to alert his colleagues, mistakenly believing Diallo had aimed a gun at them. At close range, the officers opened fire on Diallo during the shooting. Lead officer McMillan tripped backwards off the front stairs, causing the other officers to believe he had been shot. The 4 officers fired 41 shots, more than half of which went astray as Diallo was hit 19 times. The post-shooting investigation found no weapons on Diallo's body. The item they pulled out of his jacket was not a gun, but a rectangular black wallet. Jesus. I'm not clicking links. So we're gonna move that. Some white people are not used to hearing black people speak expertly polished or proper English with 5% of the nation. Stuff. Tricknology is deep. Tricknology definition. Tricknology, derogatory. Technology used for the purposes of trickery. Spark Spartan Green. Matt and Cleves was a star guard for the Michigan State Spartans from 1996 to 2000. He was an All-American 3 times and was named Big Ten Player of the Year 1998 and 1999. And Stalin's organs. Wow, this is a lot of reading, and I'm used to this at this point. The Katyusha is a type of rocket artillery first built and fielded by the Soviet Union in World War II. Multiple rocket launchers, such as these, deliver explosives to a target area more intensely than conventional artillery, but with lower accuracy and requiring a long time to reload. They are fragile compared to artillery guns, but are cheap, easy to produce and usable on almost any chassis. German troops coined the name Stalin's organs, Stalin Orgel, after Soviet leader Joseph Stalin, comparing the visual resemblance of the launch array to a pipe organ. And the sound of the weapon's rocket motors, a distinctive howling sound which terrified German troops, adding a psychological aspect to the war. Well, to their use. Okay. Jesus, that was morbid. Alright. I guess on to the next track. Alright, up next is Central Park. This is a song that I have come across. Not on purpose. I was listening to music on SoundCloud and this popped up in the rotation because I was under, I think, you know when you like songs on SoundCloud, how sometimes they'll make a radio for it, and this happened to pop up. So I do know this song. I have listened to it. I do have it saved. Let's get into it.
I'm enjoying the day outside. I'm enjoying the day outside. It came in 2 pieces, no arm, no breakdown. Still felt like gifts from Jesus. Water in the drought. If you scared, go in the house. Married to the game, abusing my spouse. Bout it like Victor Bout. Mum's the word. Idiots open their mouth, move all doubt. I'm in the park when it's dark out. Twisted bark, hands of a surgeon. Never went the shark route, eggs from a sturgeon. Sour candy from an urchin. Ask not for whom the ravens perching. It calls for you. Tower of London when I punch in. For him, they built a supermax under the dungeon. Panopticon, octagon within an octagon. Wrap my way out like word is born. My 10% was militant. Knowledge yourself, nigga rich. Negro recidivist, Lonely Hearts Club. Apparently, I'm the only rapper that didn't fuck your bitch. Yet, in lieu of respect, I'm now accepting certified checks. Wade through the crowd, swipe her hand. Shorty's unconvinced when I say I'm with the band. System, reading comprehension, theoretical math. Like if you give a dude a half, what's the likelihood he brings it back? Pop quiz, between crazy high and a panic attack. Trick question, told son, you can run with the best. Years later, found eating Jim Crow in the colored section. You wrecked slow horses, fast betting. Police sweep, little homies caught in the net. You probably could have done something, but you didn't. Now that it's too late, a whole bunch of predictable hand wringing. Blame the family, blame myself, or blame the system. Fact is, gun charge with 2 priors. My little cousin going to prison. I'm out here till I got no world left. I'm out here till I got no world left.
There's parts of it, like, I know abusing your spouse because he's in the hip-hop game and he's abusing it because of his success, but who the hell is Victor Bout? Victor Bout is a notorious arms dealer and the person who the Nicolas Cage movie Lord of War is supposedly based on. I have watched Lord of War. Eggs from a sturgeon are better known as expensive luxury good caviar. The theme of selling marijuana brings several to mind. Weed coated in hash oil rolled in keef is called caviar. An alternative interpretation would be high quality imported hashish, which is commonly transported in eggs of product enveloped in plastic. Sour candy from an urchin. Sour candy is a strain of high potency marijuana. Urchin means street urchin. Shady person who lingers outside, usually in a rough neighborhood. That additionally recalls Urchin Row, also the expensive eggs of sea culture. It's not for whom the raven's perching. Reference to the Raven, one of Edgar Allan Poe's stories. Tower of London, when I punch in. For him, they built a supermax under the dungeon. When Billy Woods goes to work, he is visible like the Tower of London by housing strong opinions. Then he might be referring to people who are not very visible, the people who are stuck in the grip of the entertainment industry, gladly feeding off the success of others on the big screen. The dungeon might be a place where you might feel trapped, but accepting the responsibilities of the world. The panopticon is a type of installation in a building designed by English philosopher and social theorist Jeremy Bentham in the 18th century. The concept of the design is to allow watchmen to observe opticon, all inmates of an institution without them being able to tell whether they are being watched or not. The name is also a reference to Panoptes from Greek mythology. He was a giant with 100 eyes, thus was known to be a very effective watchman. Rapped my way out like Red is Bond. Billy used rap to deal with his issues, to find meaning in his life. He is referring to one of the first legendary rap promoters, Kenneth Head Cortez Walker, described by DJ Premier as a signature dude whose mantra was keep your head up, eyes and ears open, and word is bond. In lieu of respect, I'm now accepting certified checks. In order to make it as a rapper, Woods must attend to the business side of the industry. He is less concerned with the other trappings of being a celebrity. Metal halide lamps. Metal halide are popular grow lights that can be used to grow pot hydroponically. Green anchors. I'm not old enough to understand this, so I'm figuring it out as I go. Billy Pepper's his rhymes with the TV reference. This one is to a 60s TV show, Green Acres, where the businessman leaves the daily grind of NYC in exchange for a farming life. This line suggests indoor cultivation of marijuana is a modern day equivalent of for an inner city African American. Good fences, pale neighbors, Woods flips Robert Frost's aphorism, good fences meet good neighbors. For his verses theme of urban racial segregation, pale also means stake, which alludes to fences. Got it. Green in the woods like Abendsith. Green rolled in a backwoods, in addition to wormwood, is what gives Abendsith its greenish hue. There's a lot of wordplay in the verse regarding the indoor cultivation and use of sales of marijuana green. And this is what it looks like. Okay. White flight like aspen. White flight is a term that originated in the United States starting in the mid 20th century, applied to the large scale migration of whites of various European ancestries from racially mixed urban regions to more racially homogeneous suburban or exurban regions. Aspen is a big money resort town and shit. Yo, okay. You can't get anything done now. Aspen is a big money resort town and shit. Flight is also a term used by Billy Woods in his songs. See Supercron Flight Bros. A slang word some in DC use that means weed. It's supposed to be a clever double meaning, white flight, referring to marijuana buds that are so covered in trichomes. It looks like white Reno, white widow, white Russian, the white, okay. And then Jim Crow, the play on colloquialism, eating crow, admitting you were wrong in segregation in post-slavery South. Got it? Fact is, a gun charge with 2 priors. That means he has 2 strikes. This is his 3rd because now he's getting another gun charge. 3 strikes, you're out. That's prison. Here Woods reveals his ultimate concern: a generation of incarcerated black youth. Despite his success as a rapper, he must acknowledge he has done nothing to address the larger problem within society. Damn. All right. Not where I saw that going. All right. On to the next track.
They caught your man coming out the building. Knees in the back, arms twisted, losing feeling. Child services took custody of the children. Neighbors milling, backseat grilling, like tell us something before you start knocking out walls and ceilings. Dirty dealings done dirt cheap. I'm on the 3rd floor, fire escape, balcony seats. The roach burned discreet. Blue and red, stage light in the street. Whole scene read like Midsummer's Night's Dream. The wood sting came through on the low. Stilo of a drug plane. Empire surveillance rolling. Falling off the bone, so composed. Vein frozen. Detailed divulgence. They came for me in the rainforest. Where I rap, it ain't no tourist. Never seen again, but I can see they earned that red badge of courage. Should've boiled the water. Now I'm left to spoil your daughter, court your spouse, do little repairs around the house. Everybody's got a plan till they get hit in the mouth. A bird in the hand was how I took it. Fam went another route. Either way, gotta get behind the mule and plow patiently. When she moves, blow her back out and bow gracefully. Ever the gentleman, he left but not hastily. Nowadays that passes chivalry basically. Put my weekend in the air lazily, the smoke curl. No apparent reason, she acting crazily, but hey, that's your old girl. Oh, her the whole world. Woods unfurled like rebel flags. The devil's laugh, black talents equals grab. The metal flash, the daguerreotype. Picture me rolling, seen an old horn, the right light, that's a Kodak moment. Hit radio, smoke 'em out the spot, sizzle and pop, perch high above the
Please tell me that's a Kodak Black reference.
Surveillance rolling, falling off the bone, so composed, vein frozen, detailed divulgence. Hit radio, smoke 'em out the spot, sizzle and pop, perch high above the block, cold defenders folded. Surveillance rolling, falling off the bone, so composed, vein frozen, detailed divulgence.
Okay. I want to see if this is a Kodak reference. The Kodak moment is intended to be something sweet. Woods just supposes this with an image of an old whore looking good for just a moment. Metal Flash during daguerreotype was the first commercially successful photograph process. A photo was created with a polished sheet of silver-plated copper. Red Badge of Courage is a war novel by the American author Stephen Crane, 1971 to 1900s, taking place during the American Civil War. The story is about a young private in the Union Army, Henry Flemings, who flees from the field of battle. Overcome with shame, he longs for a wound, Red Badge of Courage, to counteract his cowardice. With his regiment once again faces the enemy, Henry acts as standard bearer. Okay. Empire in Flames, Hirohito. It's all in the game. A moment in the sun ready to name names. Okay, protagonist and the verse discreetly from the fire escape above one of his men, presumably an employee of some sort of illegal drug enterprise, gets arrested in the street below. He thinks to himself how the heat turned up on him by law enforcement. His moment in the sun. The guy is more than likely already thinking about informing on others within the organization to save himself. He ponders how this could be the downfall of his operation, leaving the metaphorical empire in flames. Hirohito was a 124th emperor of Japan, ruling from 1926 to 1989. During his rulership, he did watch his empire burn during World War II when the Americans dropped the atom bomb on Japan twice to force the Japanese into submission. Regardless of the seeming gravity of the situation, he manages to remain level-headed and somewhat philosophically notes that it's all the game. I think he said it's all in the game, but then again, that's a typo. Essentially chalking this kind of occurrence up to as the price of being involved in this sort of business. The character of Armand Little, an HBO's acclaimed drama The Wire, who've robbed drug dealers for a living, would often make similar sorts of assertions when sticking up criminals and discussing the nature of criminal life. Okay. Midsummer Night's Dream is a play by William Shakespeare. It is believed to be written between 1590 and 1596. It portrays the events surrounding marriage of Duke of Athens, Theseus, and Hippolyta. These include the adventures of 4 young Athenian lovers and a group of 6 mature actors who are controlled and manipulated by the fairies who inhabit the forest, in which most of the play is set. The play, which is categorized as a comedy, is one of Shakespeare's most popular works for the stage and is widely performed across the world. Okay. The cops caught one of the protagonist's men, twisting his arm behind him to get him cuffed. Okay. That's a lot. But this was also extremely annoying to do because you gotta remember these albums are in like a lot of this album stuff is not in the correct order for certain things. The Opposer is the last track on here. It usually replaces Poachers, but I do have Poachers. I had to go to YouTube for that one. Alright, cool. We're gonna listen to all of them anyway. On to the next track after Poachers. The next track is 1001 Nights, produced by Blockhead again.
Met her through a personal ad, back at the times Picayune. This is 81, 82. I was nervous, tongue-tied, she played it cool. Eyes the size of Olympic pools, still waters, simple jewels. Conversation wanders, I took my cues. Sip wine with the magic sophistication. Stormed the castle, swam the moat, a moment's hesitation. Then took the pussy like a slave revolt. Get physical, but I ain't had a heart. A squirter, floods biblical. The sea parts, post-coital, cherry glows. She asked me what I'm thinking, I'm wondering what she knows. Draws no joke, start to doze, but she got to have it. 40 acres and a mule, I'm out of practice. Played myself, Mars Black.
Passing the best fuck of your life.
Okay, well,
Sackcloth and ashes. Victory has 1,000 fathers. Defeat is a bastard. In the group home, Oliver Twist flipped his way to the coop with the roof gone. David Copperfield shit. Wuthering Heights. She had me working all night. Union job. I got time and a half. Praise be to Allah. Ignored the fact that the stories don't add up like Scheherazade.
Okay, I know 40 Acres, but okay, She Gotta Have It is a 1986 film directed and written by, written, starring Spike Lee. Spike's Lee character is named Morris Blackman. Lee's production company. He makes his films through, including She's Gotta Have It, is named 40 Acres in a Mule. We already understand this one. I left him at a cell. Drug dealers can't take breaks. He has to leave halfway through the sex to provide for one of his customers. Okay. Yeah, most of this is straightforward. This is taken from The Dangerous Liaisons by French writer Laclos, probably from the movie adaptation. The character speaking is Miss Mituli. I don't know how to say that. I'm trying here. Asks Valmont to seduce a woman as part of a bet. Storm the castle, swam the moat, breach the girl's defensive. The first of many different metaphors for sex. Okay, cool. And then I know I saw one where a squirter floods, biblical, deceased part, post coital cherry lows. Yeah, that's straightforward. Now, what is this? Scheherazade is a legendary Persian queen and the storyteller of 1001 Nights. The story goes, every day Shahira would marry a new version. Every day he would send yesterday's wife to be beheaded. This was done in anger, having found out that his first wife was unfaithful to him. He had killed 1,000 such women, and the time he was introduced to Scheherazade, the vizier's daughter. Okay. That was a short track. On to the next. Next track is Tinseltown. I really like this instrumental, but I feel like this is gonna be dark. I don't know why.
They used to clown the kid like scared money don't make money. Now they doing biz, right? That's why conventional wisdom don't do nothing for me. Marvin Harrison passed the iron dungeon. Quiet ones be the shooters. He who dares wins. I'm down here with the losers. They robbed that white boy, cause this ain't Hoosiers, and stay looking for cracks like jewelers. Pressing like army recruiters. Maneuver underwater, Afghani in the scuba. 4 Nigerians, 1 computer. Travailler, middle of the day, steak for 2, Peter Luger. AK-47 with the cheese, smoke Gouda. Only priorities is right now, the near future. Optimistic, every morning between my first sip of coffee, last digit on my scratch-off ticket. Mid Gordon Gecko, wooden nickels of that sour crunch like a good pickle. More flights than Biggles, but at tonight's show he played Don Rickles. Salt on your game, kosher, for putting his name too low on the poster. Drunk as a fish harping that no respect Dangerfield. After the last drink ticket argument settles, jump behind the wheel and it's pedal to the metal. They said it's easy money, but I just can't trust it. She said I love you, honey, but I just can't trust it. He said those is boys, not to worry, just can't trust it. They said come through everything lovely, just can't.
So yo, you wanna call my father? Yeah, you want my break my windows? When you win a window? Yeah. What?
I have so many questions. Steak for 2, Peter Luger. Let's find out. Double meaning. Peter Luger is a famous steakhouse in New York. A Luger is a World War II pistol. This conveys the dangerous nature of Billy's work. He has to carry a gun at him at all times. Okay. Bentley isn't working. He is, in fact, negotiating, grinding just as hard. Okay. 4 Nigerians on computer. A reference to the Nigerian 419 scams in which someone contacts you, generally on the internet attempts to get you to front them money. Usually the money is send them to help them move greater quantity of gold, diamonds, etc. out of whatever country they claim to be in and get it to you. Internet laws are different from country to country, and scammers have been known to work in teams rotating through a day. They robbed a white boy because this ain't no Housers. I'm starting to hate speaking. The Housers is a movie starring Gene Hackman, an Indiana high school basketball team. The fictional team consists of a bunch of scarring white boys in the middle of America, and Billy Wood's Tinseltown, the song we're currently listening to, the sheltered reality of a small town in Indiana, is questioned. This isn't Hoosers. There are no happy endings happening. Okay. Ralph Ellison, 1914 to 1994, was an American author, best known for his novel Invisible Man. I got to read that. It's pretty good. This covers the social, intellectual challenges faced by African Americans in the early 20th century. Now, separating Canada, the Canaanites were a group of people that lived in the area known as Israel, Palestine, and Jordan. The Israelites believed that this land was given to them by God after the Exodus. Gordon Gekko is the lead character in the movie Wall Street. Gordon went from pennies in his pocket to being one of the most powerful stock traders in the world. His flaw was greed and his inability to care for the people around him, including his family. These lines dance around the ideas of greed, displaced people, and survival, and can be paralleled to modern day gentrification. Wooden nickels of sour crunch. Wooden nickels, wordplay. Wood's last name and $5 worth of weed. This builds off the shekel reference and the preceding lines. Sour is referring to the strain of marijuana that it would appear Billy endorses. Yep, sour diesel. More flights than Biggles. Biggles of 266. Biggles is the name of James Bigglesworth, a pilot and adventurer, is the title character and the main hero of Biggles series youth-oriented adventure book written by W.E. Johns, who lived from 1893 to 1968. Don Rickles, stand-up comedian and actor who was a frequent guest on The Tonight Show during Johnny Carson's tenure as host. Okay. Rodney Dangerfield is a comedian whose catchphrase is "I get no respect." He is of the same era and similar style to Don Rickles mentioned previously. Wood's narrator felt slightly slighted by his billing at a show. Okay. All right. On to the next track. The next track, which is the first time we actually get to see a feature being talked about, is Aesop Rock. I actually like a lot of his music. And the song is called Tumbleweed, once again produced by Blockhead. I feel like I've heard this before. I have heard this before. I am out of water too. Damn.
Pop with a landscape, belly up, throwing socks at the fan blades. 1 o'clock, dummy lock eyes with a Mickey Mouse pancake. Pops on a stepping side handshake, slobs in a citywide campground. Translate, 10 lions examining how the lamb tastes. Needs more saffron, needs 4 eyes where his hands ain't. Hand-painted mask on, bad ascot. Tap math rock on a heartstring. Mosh like a Sasquatch larp.
I have my own reception that I'm borrowing here.
let relationships step in the front door, guns to your own heads. His and her 44s matching rubber grips. Just me and my bitch, romantic revolvers. She threatened to leave, reply,
I'd buy that for $1.
took a few weeks, but I'm back to rolling them smaller. It's the little things, the bitter flings, rebounding with the illest springs. Icarus aloft on pride for the wings. Heavy hands, Singapore slings. Good man, I appreciate a barkeeper. Keep my cup on brim and might perhaps point me towards some trim. Eye blinks, pan flashes. Suddenly the only person in the bar not wearing glasses. Keeps a flask in hand, but for that special someone might pass it. The modest man takes his meals alone, close to home, 2 glasses, coat to roam. Slipped out unnoticed. The tip was decent, nods good evening to policemen passing the precinct. Must have already made quota. Crocodile tears, PW both them. Maybe I should have stuck it out instead of going home to a sofa. Arrived by a chauffeur, dipped in the jack-o'-lantern, arm in arm with the slat and shot from the hip. Excuses in the holster, extended clip, one in the head, and I ain't stopped squeezing till I knew it was dead.
Actually, because I saw this and this immediately made me think of something. Operation Tooth and Nail turned troops into boots and belts. I don't know why that immediately made me think of at one point when black people were slaves, slave owners would actually kill some of them. They also had a tendency to eat them. I don't know why that was a thing, but that was the thing. But they also fashioned the slave skin into different articles of clothing: boots, belts, hats, shoes, things you would make out of leather. It went under 2 names that I know of. I don't know if there's an official name for it. It was nigga leather and slave skins. I mean, that second one's self-explanatory. Let's read this. He's sleeping, but then wakes up, and his dream suddenly stops. Okay. Boredom, misery, loneliness, probably depression as well. Just the usual by Aesop. Only portrayed in a very simple, realistic manner this time. Reference to artist Jean Michael Basquiat. I like his work too. Math rock heartstring implicitly plays on chord in atomical, musical, and mathematical senses. Okay. LARP, live action role play, a type of game where a group of people wear costumes representing a character they create to participate in an agreed fantasy world, uses foam sticks as swords, foam balls as magic, and other props to create games in the world. To create the game's world, Sasquatch can mosh with fucking abandon in this scenario. Okay. Okay. Ace is saying that chicks he was talking about before are so difficult to be around due to their diva-like behavior. He needs to be drugged up or anesthetized just to be around them. Okay. Survival gear, meaning he is prepared for something. Might break off from the pack like Uncle Traveling Matt. Uncle Traveling Matt is a brave Fraggle explorer and Gabbo's uncle in Fraggle Rock. In the beginnings, he ventured out of the rock to explore the human world of outer space. Russian roulette relationships. The relationship is like a game of Russian roulette. They are together. They both have metaphorical guns to each other's head and firing, knowing eventually it will go off. I'd buy that for $1, referencing RoboCop. Okay. Took a few weeks, but I'm back to rolling them smaller. A few weeks later, Billy Woods is back to rolling smaller joints because he won't be sharing them with his girlfriend anymore. He used large amounts of weed to escape. Accepted comment. He means that he used large amounts of weed to escape depression from his girlfriend leaving, and now he's getting over it and he's less herbs. Okay. Icarus aloft and on Pride's brutal wings. Refers to Greek myth of Icarus, the boy with his father Daedalus escaped imprisonment in Crete using wings made of wax and feathers. He hubristically ignored his father's warning not to fly too high and too close to the sun, which resulted in his wings melting and he fell to his death. I remember that story. Wasn't bad. Singapore slings, a popular South Asian cocktail. Really? Peter William Botha, Botha D is nuts. DMS, commonly known as PW, and Die Group Crocodile Africans for the Big Crocodile, was the Prime Minister of South Africa from 1978 to 1984 and the first executive state president from 1984 to 1989. Him and his girl have been arguing for so long that he expects to sleep on the sofa upon his return. After returning home from the bar, the protagonist and his girl get into an argument, hailing back to the gun illusions. At the beginning of the verse, it can be assumed that the weapon is a metaphor for the arguments the two have, extended clip being a reference to the amount of things the two have to argue about. Well, damn. I guess on to the next one. And our next one is called Hack, produced by Blockhead.
I hate driving at night. Just increase the chance quality of life gon' flash them misery lights. Stay home, write that Richard Price. When the script don't flip, right back at it like a neighbor on the pipe. Pick up, drop off, pick up, drop off. It's just a job, but you can't never knock off. Getting old, going soft, and just seeing things for what they are. I'ma die up in this car, hunched over the wheel with a big roll of small bills, tray full of ash, quarter tank of gas, dog-eared photos taped to the dash. 18 years pushing this cab, from bush dimes to cushion a bag. Youthful crime to this is all. The meter runs, release reefer in lungs. Now we're cooking with gas. Good times? I ain't have fun, seems like everybody else had a blast. Your last tape was half-assed. A few weeks past, your man's already got the microwave on rehash. That's what's hot on the local thoroughfares, huh? Fuck it, I'll take you there. Red light, the beast just stare. Watch you try to play it cool. Everybody plays the fool. Sometimes hit the corner like you playing pool. 6 to 9, moving goalposts and folks change rules. No reason to rhyme. I compete with great vigor within the lines that are painted, nigga. So I'm out here graveyarding, narrow margins, pathetic pantomime, gray gardens. Write the rhymes they wanna hear, right? 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 Write the rhymes they wanna hear, right?
When the guy gets hit by a train.
Wow. I have to say, I do like Blockhead's producing. No, let's see, here we go. In his 18-year evolution as a dealer, he has sold everything from low-grade dime bags to quality marijuana. Youthful crime to this is all I really have. Selling weed has gone from youthful crime, something the protagonist did aimlessly as a kid, to his only means of income. And then selling weed at night for little return on investment. Okay. Damn. I didn't really was out here pushing dope. All right. On to the next track. The next track featuring Elucid, Open Mike Eagle, and Mocha Only. Here we go. Fool's Gold.
Webster's describe Webster. That's a short person. Yeah. I once played the fool of the doom show. I really thought it was him, cause I stood back a few rows. Angry people threw bowls and crushed a few toes. It was like a live production of the Emperor's New Clothes. Promoter rappers book me gigs at new venues. You get there and there's just a few menus. A fucking employee rocking a grin like a Cheshire cat. I'm wearing a jester hat, sitting there watching them cut up pepper jack. The rap fans are the net of the fucking biggest ones. Steady letting baby faces mark them for hitting runs. A bunch of fool players learning new prayers. None of them showing you how to be your own soothsaying oracle. At least take turns like a two-player portable. play the mark or play the carny. Stay in the dark or host the party. Write the play or play in the park like a child. Shit, I be watching Soul School like an old fool, all up in the wrong castle like Mario and Toadstool. I'm from
slaughtering retail land. I've tried to expand, done a lot for the cause, but the rebel gets slammed. Doors never opening out the initial work. Promoters holding out on the dough. I'm thinking this'll work. Every time I sign on the line, at least try to flex optimism and see the shine. I get idle text. One of these days I may really wake up, but for now they keep fooling till my band break up, and that's tough.
Chest from years of wondering, maybe, and what if. It's not that I don't love my wife and kids, but this is it. The happiness I'm waiting by the window like Malcolm X. Courtyard by Marriott, room 26.
Just as real as I imagine. Honeysuckle root all on my mattress. I want you forever.
Those are funky instrumental, man.
Infatuated vision in this blackness. Matchstick memory. Candlelight shadow play. Unfamiliar energy. Welcome it. Before night since we last connected. Confessions. Otherworldly pleasures in your presence. Possess me. Sessions in succession. By the moon exhausted. Dreamy baby awesome. Climax cumulus. Union of like mind. Sidetrack illusion. I'm not truly in right mind. Demon spawn polluted. I'm consumed. The fool of denial. Nighttime intrusion concluded with deceitful smile. Waking hours, eyes open on cold towel, covered in sweat and bile. Knock shook his head, look over my file. Long time sufferer, asylum, silence, awaiting her arrival.
I really like that instrumental. Yeah, once played a fool in MF Doom show. I read this while it was going. I remember the Doom imposters for his shows. That was something I learned in a documentary about MF Doom. Let's see. People usually don't react kindly to learning that the money they spent on tickets to see their favorite rapper was wasted on watching a lip-syncing imposter. The Emperor's New Clothes is a tale about a very vain emperor by Hans Christian Andersen. In the story, the vain emperor is met by two swindling weavers who promise they are going to weave him an outfit made of special cloth that is invisible to anyone stupid or unfit for their current position. The emperor obviously pretends he can see it to avoid embarrassment. When the outfit is done, he parades around in it. Everyone pretends that they can see it, as well as avoid demotion from the emperor. This goes on until a child blurts out the emperor is naked. Others begin to blurt out with him. The emperor slowly realizes they are right. Open Mic is comparing this story to his experience at the fake MF Doom concert. The audience was conned into thinking they were watching Doom perform when they really saw an imposter lip syncing to Doom recordings. Okay. Play the mark or play the carny. This is an obvious reference to then Governor of Bank of England and future Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. I'm from the Blowed Fool. Open Mic is part of a underground hip-hop open mic workshop project Blowed. This was pioneered by MCs such as Killone and Abstract Rude. They have released 2 compilation albums, 1995's Project Blowed and 2005's follow-up Project Blowed 10th anniversary. Okay. This began as an extramarital affair, but as separation has taken place, he no longer needs to lie about it anymore because he's no longer with the person he was with. I'll take you away from all of this. You don't have to put up with a red light. A reference to the Police song Roxanne, the chorus. After Roxanne, you don't have to put out the red light, referring to prostitution. The woman narrator is waiting for is a sex worker. The woman the narrator is waiting for is a sex worker. a reference to the photo of Malcolm X, where he felt his life threatened by the Nation of Islam since he begun to doubt the validity of Elijah Muhammad's moral scriptures or scruples and his claim to be Allah's messenger. His doubt would set the stage for the public break with the NOI in 1964, the year which the photo was taken. Okay. On to the next track, I guess. That one wasn't as in depth as I thought it was gonna be. The next track is Pro Wrestling. All right, let's see this.
When I looked into your eyes, I saw walls filled with fear.
We don't even understand freedom anymore. We are a country that is headed towards socialism, totalitarianism, beyond your wildest imagination.
Because I'm rich in ring prowess, flush with technical skill, and extremely well off when it comes to wrestling ability.
They do interviews, veins bulging out the neck. Mock outrage, or is they really vexed? Anybody's guess. Facts don't matter, make you twist and shout, much beating in the chest. Popcorn buttered, feet up, eyes glued to the set. It never gets old like pro wrestling for NES. They be going off the top rope, suplex. Pay-per-view to your double wide and duplex. A swing and a miss, but he still hit the deck. Badly choreographed, cheap shot, meet the press. Lock and I live.
Roll us into a new global government, environmental fascism, dictatorship of the banking cartel.
Kathy, get off my phone! Get off my phone, you little pinhead! I don't care! You people don't care about the trillions! Get off my phone!
You're a hack. Integrity! It's like Jacques Cousteau trying to find a dry spot in the ocean. I've got no damn integrity! You think I got so far?
I was born with a golden spoon in my mouth. Nobody likes that. It's the old adage that you like to hear somebody's doing pretty good, but you don't want to hear they're doing better than you. You see, and the bottom line is, my whole career, I've always done better than anybody else. Only because of one reason. I was born with a golden spoon. I inherited the ability. I inherited the money. I inherited the God-given best looks in the world today. And with this, I dress myself in ultra suede. I dress myself in cashmere. Yeah, I dress myself in $100 pleated slacks. I dress myself in alligator shoes. I wear a $15,000 Rolex. I got Mercedes-Benz, Rolls Royce, the biggest house on the biggest hill on the biggest side of town. You know why I got all that? Because I was born with a golden sword.
Damn. HGH, human growth hormone, is often injected into muscles by wrestlers to improve performance and make their muscles look better. Reference to the film Gladiator. Are you not entertained? The passion shown from certain members during interviews and speeches can seem so vehement that we start to question if they're actually pretending or for real. Okay. Facts don't matter, make them twist and shout. The media machine is notorious for extreme bias in either direction to the point where the actual facts matter less than the spin you can put on them. Much beating of the chest, apes beat their chest to show as a show, but put on for other apes. The comparison saying the media personalities push themselves up the same way. Popcorn buttered feet up, eyes glued to the set. It never gets old. He could be saying the speaker, watches bad cable news personalities for cheap entertainment value rather than the actual perception of the truth, because of any perceived truth to come from it. Or he could be saying that the target audience watches it as entertainment. They'd be going off the top rope suplex pay-per-view to double wide or duplex. A double wide is often is a kind of trailer, a duplex is a cheap sort of house for rent. He's painting the image that it's often the poor that actually comes transfixed on by the media. One wrestler misses a swing, the other falls down. The announcers act like it was a cheap shot. It's like comparison to the outrage machine that the media creates. Very little of the big 24-hour news is so controversial in reality, but the media puffs it up for the sake of ratings. A swing and a miss, but he still hit the deck. Badly choreographed cheap shot. Meet the press. Emmanuel Goldstein on screen. Emmanuel Goldstein is a character from George Orwell's dystopian classic 1984. In the novel, Goldstein is used as a scapegoat by the ruling Ingsoc party of Oceania, who displays his face on large screen during the daily 2-minute hate. 2 minute hate, which essentially an outlet for the repressed citizens. Okay. Alright, on to the next track. The next track we have is Lucre or Lucre. I don't really know how to spell it, so we're just gonna go with Lucre for now. Once again, produced by Blockhead. I think this whole album is produced by Blockhead.
Change. It's said that you pay for what you do, but to see bad men buried with honor is nothing new. Often hear hard work is its own reward, and that the world's promise to the meek and the poor. I take that like a kiss from a whore. I take that like a kiss from a whore. Concepts written in the cold sweat. Fever high like the price of gold get, or high capacity clips for the grandfather tech. What you expect with the black president-elect? Warned them, find next time, but they fucking slept. Yet, I still felt bad when your mother's wept. Existentialist question, like blood or crip. Seats catches mid soft in the gutter whip. Petite bourgeoisie, whole power, butter grip. Clandestine meetings, foreign government. He dreams of the day women guard him like Gaddafi. Bedouin tents, Amazons, and epaulets, Tunisian property. Mom used to say, if you're gonna do it properly. Everything must go is how the sign translate. Approximately 300K in the suitcase, give or take the price of monopoly. Utilities and railroads in Baltic states, we made a mockery of all you held dear, from Good Hope to Cape Fear. Manila envelopes, Anglo-American De Beers, for he's a jolly good fellow. 3 cheers. Fuck. They say God remakes the world every day, but the amount of good and evil, he never changed. It's said that you pay for what you do, but to see bad men buried with honor is nothing new. Often hear hard work is its own reward, and that the world's promise to the meek and the poor. I take that like a kiss from a whore. I take that like a kiss from a whore.
Damn. A quote from Cormac McCarthy's book. Okay. I take it like a kiss from horror. A whore's kiss isn't worth much at all, no matter how much affectionate, there is nothing behind it that holds weight like a snitch at the bottom of a cold lake. Snitches are placed in cement shoes, wait, and are thrown into a lake to sink and stay there. Got it. 300K at a suitcase, give or take the price of monopoly, utilities, railroads, and Baltic states. We made a mockery. Woods follows up mentioning property by mentioning the famous property trading board game Monopoly. Utility, railroads, and Baltic Ave in place of states are all spaces on the board of the standard version of Monopoly. Okay. I often hear hard work is its own reward, and that the world is promised to the meek and the poor. Hard work is said to be a reward on its own, yet at the end of hard work on its own is hollow. Hard work is all that is promised to the meek and the poor. The reward of hard work is superficial. Okay. What you expect with a black president-elect is talking about how it's really hard to get certain types of ammunition because they're scared that shit Yeah, that shit that hasn't been grandfathered in is going to be taken by Obama, and the price of gold is skyrocketing after his election. I just thought that was funny. Okay. So the point of that was fire next time, but they fucking slept. James Baldwin reference what is referencing firing gun, but also I think he's saying people are sleeping on the wisdom of James Baldwin, and he's been hip to him. What the yo? Some of these are stupid. Some people need to have their permission to write comments on Genius like taken away from them. Okay, let's read this because this actually looks like it has some validity behind it. Existentialist questions are usually philosophical in nature and asked to oneself about one's place in life. However, this example is more direct and related to your physical existence. If you're asked the question blood or crip and you answer incorrectly, you will be killed. Okay, see? Someone who knows how to use Genius. Alright, moving on to the next track. The next track is Cuto Quinavel. I can't say words. Yeah, I've given up now. Cuto Quinavel. If he says it in the song, I might understand it.
Through the looking glass, Robert Mugabe watches Bob Marley perform Zimbabwe, filling out a body. Fresh out the bush, still see the bodies. Pompeii, history will absolve me, probably. Botched robbery, Tupac in the lobby. True believers, Ian Smith on my left. Dying breath, cursing these niggas. African chest in the beds of dry rivers. A stick traces plans in the silt. Angolan land, but the links Cuban built. Neat trick. Now China owns the dam, your blood still gets spilt. Game sold like an AIDS quilt. Daniel Day, crazy straw up in your milk. There will be oil. Dragon teeth sowed in the soil. Planes overhead, day and night. Lay them boys cook. Deplorable, but truth be told, we all love to see the white man shook. They want it one way, but it's another. 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 They want it one way, but it's another.
Okay. One way, but it's another. People want something one way, but they don't have it, so they start a war. Accept the comment. This is a reference to a famous line in the TV series The Wire. The line is spoken by the drug kingpin villain Marlo Stanfield when speaking to the security guard who caught him openly stealing candy from a store. The line is a simple reduction of the nature of reality, that though we would like things to be set up in a way that benefits us or that we could affect the world, really most things are outside of our control. Robert Gabriel Mugabe, born the 21st of February 1924, is the second and current president of Zimbabwe, as one of the leaders of the guerrilla movements against the white minority rule. He was elected into power in 1980. He served as prime minister from 1980 to 1987 and the first executive head of state since 1987. And I don't know if he's still alive, so he might not be the present one anymore. Zimbabwe is a song by Bob Marley. It was written in support of the rebels fighting against the Rhodesian government in the Bush War. After the rebels won, Robert Mugabe rose to power, forming a new independent country of Zimbabwe. Bob Marley was invited to the country to perform Zimbabwe. Okay. Filling out of body, fresh out the bush, still see the bodies. The rebels, after just having won the war, forming a new country, feels surreal watching Bob Marley perform Zimbabwe, still having flashbacks to the war. Pompeii. Okay, that's just. Let's read the accepted comment. Also, a track on History Will Absolve Me. But to add to Pompeii metaphor, the city was buried under a layer of ash for many centuries before finally being excavated in the late 1800s. In the late 18th century, 1800s, 18th century, I'm pretty sure that's the same thing. I don't think that makes a difference. So the centuries of burial in Pompeii here is akin to Mugabe's emergence from from the bush after years of fighting a guerrilla war against the white Rhodesians. Return to civilian life is like stepping out of suspended animation, with the last thing you remember the scene of Romans suffocating on Vesuvius toxic fumes. Okay. History Will Absolve Me, that's a Billy Woods album. Botched robbery, Tupac in the lobby, reference in 1994 November shooting. Shakir was rushed to Bellevue Hospital after a near-fatal shooting in 1994. On the night of November 30th, 1994, the day before the verdict in his sexual abuse trial was announced, Shakir was shot 5 times, robbed by 2 armed men in army fatigues after entering the lobby of Quad Recording Studios in Manhattan. True Believers, Ian Smith on my left, dying breath, cursing these, you know what, cursing these niggas. Ian Smith was the Prime Minister of Rhodesia, located in modern-day Zimbabwe from 1964 to 79. He was a defender of the white minority rule over the black majority in Rhodesia. African chess. African chess refers to the war and its strategy in the beds of dry rivers. This refers to soldiers fighting in dry riverbeds and difficulty getting water in Africa. Angolan land. But the Lynx Cuba built neat trick during the Battle of Kyoto Cunaval. Cunaval. The country of Angolan's army was pinned down by South African Defense Force near a bridge. Enemy artillery had them surrounded. The army called for help from Cuba, and shortly after Cuban reinforcements arrived, the bridge was destroyed using smart bomb. The Cubans rebuilt the bridge, or link, on the Angolan land. History lesson over. Okay. Accept a comment. I think he's also saying neat trick because he's making a double entendre. He's referring to the bridge and the album only built for Cuban links by Raekwon and of the Wu-Tang Clan. OB4CL is considered one of the greatest Wu-Tang Clan albums, or Wu-Tang albums. Now China owns the dam, your blood still gets spilled. This line references the economic ties to China with Angola and with Africa at large. Across the continent of Africa, there is Chinese policy of lending out money for infrastructure in exchange for resources and political ties. Among them, Angola is a major trading partner with China, which makes up to 40% of Angolan exports. The line basically portrays the Chinese ties with Angola as neo-colonial, while the previous parts of the song refer to Angolan civil war following their independence from the Portuguese. Would hints to us that, in his opinion, the Angolans haven't truly freed themselves. I mean, they technically haven't. They're still technically a slave to China, if you think about it. Referencing the famous "Drink Your Milkshake" line said by Daniel Day-Lewis in the 2000 film "There Will Be Blood." Daniel Day, crazy straw up in your milk. There will be oil. Another reference to There Will Be Blood. Dragon teeth sewn into the soil. A reference of the usage of fossils in traditional Chinese medicine. These fossils are called dragon teeth or dragon bones. It is claimed that dragon teeth cure a wide variety of ailments, including mental illness, schizophrenia, and anxiety, much in the way that dragon teeth are fossils. Oil is a fossil fuel. Woods is using the term dragon teeth as a synonym for the oil wealth of Africa. Plains overhead day and night. Many countries have great amounts of natural wealth, including fossil fuels, valuable materials, as well as other valuable resources. Tend to be more prone to conflict due to the fighting over these very valuable resources. I'm parroting at this point. This is known as the resource curse, or as a resource curse, and is something that plagues large portions of Africa. In this line, as well as lines before this, Woods is pointing out most of this bloodshed is over resources. He did it for a crust of bread and paid the price, referencing the book Les Miserables. He did something he needed to survive, knowing the consequences. I rep my era, bridge the gap between Marchera and Sweatshirt. I think of Dambuzo Marachera or Marachera being one who blazes the path for the generation that comes after Sweatshirt's father. Let's see. Oh, he's talking about Earl Sweatshirt's father. Okay, Earl Sweatshirt's father, Kiro Peste, I don't know how to say that name. I screwed it up. So I'm saying between Marriage hair and Earl Sweatshirt is me. Oh, so he's the middle ground. Okay. Admittedly, it ain't his best work. Joseph Conrad was very depressed and self-conscious. He probably did not like his book, The Secret Sharer, or maybe Billy just thought he wrote better books. Network Haqqani. The Haqqani Network is a group of Islamic insurgents believed to be associated with Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden's escape to Pakistan. The IC is Pakistan's inter-services intelligence, believed to have started the Haqqani network as soon as they were thought to be affiliated with Al Qaeda. The IC denied any connections to them. Okay, cool. Now we can play The Opposer. That is the last track on the album. Technically, it's a streaming exclusive. Let's get into it. Last track, streaming bonus, The Opposer.
The right rows read for relentless. The left mostly idle. Your cool's apprentice. Two-hand grip for that act of violence, senseless. Fuck your good old days. That's Cambodian memory sickness. My memory barely flickers between pulls and tie stick. In inclement weather, the trick is to remember you don't know shit. Let me handle the big picture. Kidnap tyrants, sever the hand of King Midas to get richer. You living off reputation alone, homes. Better hope they don't try to get with you. They some go-getters with go-go gadgets like Hitler. Shake you down like seasoned strippers. But the dough flow uphill from John to Ho to the bankroll of the foul motherfucker that pepper. Sticky, silky strands spin, the spider sits in the center. Never satisfied like millionaires who eat TV dinners. From this range, people you think you admire, they wouldn't piss if you was on fire. The piffless mango papaya, grimacing off that, fit the stolen Naya. Willing seller, willing buyer. Hand of God, crowns the king of liars. He ain't even want the job, but they already had a messiah. So I'm sicing you moments before the toast gets fired. Yeah, I threw him a line, but it was barbed wire. Hard white took him right out the frying pan, put his ass in the fire. Bearer of bad news like damn, they yapped your supplier. Trap going ham, my man, you in the deep fryer. Rest assured it's part of his plan. The entire thing is quite inspired. I'll quote scripture singing choirs. Patron saint of drifters flows pious.
Damn. I like how there's no quotations for this one. But, like, spoils to the victor. Whoever wins gets the spoil. Survival of the fitter. That's survival of the fittest. And stone for every sinner. It's technically because when you were a sinner, they would stone you to death. I feel like that's also a play on words. A stone for every sinner. He's selling stones because he's a drug dealer. I don't know. That might just be me. The people you think you admire, they wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire. If there's no water around. Like, I think this, I don't remember the full context behind it, but I remember I was talking to my grandfather, and I don't know if he was joking or if he was being dead ass, but if there was no water or fire extinguisher, you can technically use piss to put out a flame. You would think you look up to someone enough that they'd save you in a pinch. Yeah, probably not. Hand of God crowns the king of liars. I really want to know what this one means. You didn't even want the job, but they already had a messiah. I also want to know what that one means. Bearer of bad news, like damn, they got your supplier. He has to be the messenger who explains that they got the supplier, and then it's trap going ham, my man. You in a deep fryer. Now they're raiding the spot because they got the supplier, and he probably snitched on them. Rest assured, it's part of his plan. Everyone says everything's up to God's plan. The entire thing is quite inspired. I'll quote the scripture, singing choirs, patron saints of grifter flows pious. I want to know what this last half means. That is the end of the album. As always, you know I enjoy doing these, especially when it comes down to people like Billy Woods. I know my background is a little messed up. I know you're probably thinking, why does he have fluff? I was working on a stuffed animal. My towel is currently on my bed frame. We don't talk about that. I've been having a moment. But yeah, I mean, this was definitely one of his older albums. This came out in 2013. So I am 13 years late. However, you know, I don't think I would have been able to understand any of this 13 years ago, or even 4 years ago for that matter. So being able to listen to this now and somewhat grasp a little bit of a meaning is definitely something I'm happy about. As always, you know the drill. All the links you need are down in the description below. W is still our sponsor. That's not going anywhere anytime soon. The code for that, both codes are down in the description below. And I will see you in the next one. Peace.
It ain't no debate. Boy, come do this fucking sacrifice. If you want them dead, don't get mad at me when I say the price.